Not too hard, this one. If money's no object and you want the best family 4x4 around, buy a Land Rover Discovery 4. Nothing else really gets close to matching the Discovery's all-round abilities. Get it off-road and it's just jaw-droppingly capable, but it's the improvement in on-road performance, courtesy of the latest 3-litre V6 diesel, that really marks out this 4th generation version. For nearly a quarter of a century, Land Rover's Discovery has stood as one of the finest examples of resourceful British engineering. Launched in 1989 at a time when the Solihull company desperately needed to appeal to people other than rural farmers or rich executives, it was essentially a Mark I Range Rover with a boxy, family-friendly body and a trendy Conran-designed interior. But it was very cleverly done, and buyers loved it. So much so, in fact, that the same basic design soldiered on for 15 years, with a mild update along the way in 1998 that brought 5-cylinder engines and air suspension. By 2004, it was clear that something a bit more radical was required, and this Discovery 3 duly delivered it. The family-sized large 4x4 market had fragmented into clunky ladder frame chassis SUVs that were good off-road but hateful on it, and monocoque-bodied jacked-up estate cars that traded grip in the glop for a more road-orientated setup. Now this was where the sales were, but Land Rover also couldn't afford to compromise their ultimately capable 4x4 principles. So British engineering, resourceful British engineering, came to the fore once more. This Discovery 3 arriving boasting 2 separate chassis, combined as one in a so-called integrated body frame that offered a tough ladder-framed chassis for off-roading and a unitary body for luxury saloon-style cruising. It was a brilliant solution. Nearly as good, in fact, as the terrain response system announced at about the same time, which made this Discovery's huge abilities accessible to less experienced drivers. The only problem now lay under the bonnet, with the also freshly introduced 190 brake horsepower 2.7-litre 6-cylinder diesel engine, which, with pulling power more suited to the Jaguar saloons for which it was first developed, struggled with this Discovery's twin chassis 3-ton weight, leaving the Disco at a disadvantage to nearly all its competitors. So the priority for the Discovery 4 then was pretty clear, and as usual, the British engineers have come up with a complete, clever and very elegant solution. If you've owned a Discovery 3 for any length of time, or tried the old 2.7-litre engine that continues to be offered in entry-level versions of this model, then you won't need telling what an improvement the 242 brake horsepower 3-litre V6 diesel that most Discovery 4 owners will specify represents. At the same time as weight has dropped by a hefty 140 kilograms, pulling power has increased from 400 to a thumping 600 newton meters. Now the result is virtually instant grunt in almost every situation, with a rather wonderful snarl as you move up and down the standard 6-speed box. Add in superb refinement, bigger brakes, sharper redesigned steering and tweaked suspension that flattens out body roll over faster corners, and you've got a vehicle that is at last a true luxury saloon alternative, if not one that can quite match a BMW X5 through the twisters. The reason why is that Land Rover continues to refuse to compromise on this car's legendary off-road ability. In fact, they've enhanced it still further with improvements to their patented terrain response system. Now, this is akin to having an expert sitting alongside you, helping you to get the best out of the car, both on and off-road. The driver chooses one of 5 different terrain settings via a rotary knob on the centre console. There's a general driving program, and then one for slippery conditions dubbed grass, gravel and snow, and then 3 specialist off-road modes, that's mud and ruts, sand and rock crawl. Now the latest version of this system has a launch control function to help you more easily extricate yourself from deep sand, plus improvements to the hill descent control and rock crawl functions to make tricky manoeuvres that bit easier. You've simply to turn the knob tune up Radio 4 and watch the worst that the elements can throw at you glide past the window. It's brilliant. Now, you have to be careful how you reinterpret a bit of British heritage. Over 1,500 parts in this Discovery 4 have been changed in an effort to improve style as well as speed. The familiar boxy shape remains, but has been treated to trendy LED lights at the front and the rear, and a smart two-part silver grille sitting above redesigned bumpers at the rear and at the front. The front one incorporating a wider air intake to help cool this powerful engine. More important is the addition of 17.6 centimetres to the overall length, enough to change this from being a 5-seater car with a couple of occasional extra seats to proper MPV rivaling 7-seater family transport. Now inside, cabin quality has been ratcheted up at least a couple of notches with lots of stitched leather and soft grain plastics. Plus there's push button starting with the keyless go system. The terrain response layout has been moved to pride of place in front of the gear lever. There's lots of useful controls on the steering wheel, and this touchscreen is very useful in taking away lots of the buttons that would otherwise be littering the fascia. At the back there's good knee room and particularly good headroom in the airy cabin. Now this third row back here is very cleverly done. It's easy to erect and it's big enough for an adult to sit in. In terms of luggage room, there's plenty of oddment storage even for third row passengers. And in terms of total capacity, you've got 1,192 litres with the second row of seats in place, or at least you would have if I wasn't here. Now with third and second row seats folded forward, and you can fold them completely flat, you've got a maximum of 2,558 litres of total luggage room without the need to remove any of the head restraints. And in true Range Rover style, you've got this split rear tailgate so that you can have impromptu picnics. List prices suggest that you'll be paying anywhere between £32,000 and £50,000 for your Discovery 4, with prices starting at around the £35,000 mark for the 3-litre V6 diesel that most customers will want. Now, if you think that sounds expensive, then you obviously haven't checked out comparable prices for rival Audi Q7, BMW X5 and Mercedes M-Class models. Yes, there are cheaper alternatives like Mitsubishi's Shogun or Toyota's Land Cruiser, but they don't really have the Disco's class. Now, technology is everywhere with this car, or at least it will be if you've the cash for a posh trim level and a trawl through the options list. Now, the various systems are controlled via this centrally mounted touchscreen display, and the driver also gets a second LCD display in the instrument cluster through which various functions can be controlled through switches on the steering wheel here. Now, you've also got a portable audio interface through which all kinds of MP3 players and USB devices can be connected, and there's also the option of a DAB digital radio. The clever front headlamps incorporate a high beam assist function that automatically detects oncoming drivers at night and automatically dips the lights to avoid dazzling them. As you'd expect, the headlamps can also remotely switch on themselves when light levels are sufficiently low. Then there's something I really like, this surround camera system, which uses no fewer than 5 cameras to give a near 360-degree view of the vehicle on this centrally mounted display to help you with tricky parking manoeuvres, sticky off-road situations, or when you're hitching up a trailer. Now, one of the best things about the Discovery 4's 3-litre twin-turbo V6 diesel is that it easily manages to eclipse the fuel economy and emissions figures of the older 2.7-litre unit, despite the 29% increase in power and 36% increase in torque. Fuel economy is 30.4 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle. That's up from just under 27 miles to the gallon from the old 2.7 litre engine. And you should get 244 grams per kilometre of CO2 emissions. That's a useful 26 grams per kilometre improvement. Residual values should see you getting about half your purchase price back after 3 years of normal motoring. Land Rover has also incorporated a number of other features into the Discovery designed to improve economy, and they're all bundled together under the e-Terrain banner. They include the intelligent power system, which recharges the battery when it's most efficient to do so, numerous aerodynamic improvements, and an energy-saving air conditioning pump. Most big 4x4s make very little sense if you plan to drive them solely on tarmac. Most of the time you'd be better served by a decent full-sized plush saloon or MPV if you want space and great ride quality. But here's an exception. The Land Rover Discovery is so good that it almost warrants recommendation regardless of its ability on the mud. But don't ignore that. After all, it's only when you put this car through its paces on properly extreme terrain that the genius in its design becomes apparent. Bottom line, whether you're up to your axles in mud, carrying a family of 7, or needing a soothing ride home on a wet evening after a long day, this car delivers. It's a British success story, and we should be proud of it.